Should I buy a home towards the end of 2022? What's up, guys? My name is Corbin. I'm here to try and give you the most non-biased mortgage information on YouTube. Hopefully, I know that I'm in the business of doing mortgages for consumers. So just in full transparency, I may be a little bit biased about my opinions on what I think of real estate, the market, because I've helped so many families create wealth over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's been awesome to see. But I wanted to bring this video to you because there's a lot of concern right now in the market with the higher interest rates, with the economy. You know, we're in a recession right now. They don't want to call it a recession, but we really are in a recession. And so that's what this video is going to be about, and super excited to do it for you. First off, before we start the video, we would love to help you. I am a mortgage lender and a shareholder here in the Central Valley in California. We finance all throughout California, mainly in the Central Valley, but we still help all throughout California. And if you're looking from a different state, that's no problem. I have connections and friends all over the nation that can help you get financed for a home. So let's get into it. So first off, where are we as far as interest rates? This is something that's concerning a lot of people. It's driving payments up. It's causing the consumer to be able to afford less house. And to be honest, we are in the high 6s, low 7s sometimes, depending on the program, FICO score. I'm not quoting rates here. I'm just specifically telling you that it's somewhere in that ballpark. You got to get an actual true loan estimate to figure it out because so many different factors get applied to your interest rate. But that's kind of where we're at. And what happens when the rates are super high? Well, it kind of causes demand to drop a little bit, right? And because there's less demand, there's actually more buying opportunities for buyers that are still in the market. So a lot of people want to compare this market to the 2008 collapse. And while this market has its challenges, I mean, there's risk when you buy a home, but there's risk anytime you buy a home, guys. There's risk when you buy stocks. There's risk when you invest in your 401k, when you start a new business, when you start a new job. There's always going to be risk. There's just some things maybe a little bit riskier than others. Let's start here. 2008 was caused by subprime mortgages, which basically in a nutshell, what that means to you is mortgages are being given out to consumers that shouldn't have been getting mortgages for their homes. Okay. We're talking stated income with bad FICO scores and 0% down. So they had to put no money down. They didn't care about their credit and they would state their income. They could have been working, at a gas station, right? And they state that they're making $200,000 a year and the lender's going to lend them the money based on that. That is why in 2008, 2009, 2010, the government came in and re-regulated everything. And that is why this market is different. Now let's look at the stats. 2008 to 2010, it started going down roughly about 2011, 2010-ish. What I mean by that is the delinquency rate. Delinquencies during this time were at almost 12%. That is over 1 out of every 10 homes were in foreclosure, delinquency, short sale. It was really bad. Okay. Now, the difference between now and then is the fact that now our delinquency rate on this chart right here is less than 2.5%, which is normal. And it's actually going down since COVID. So one of the big fears was, oh my gosh, these forbearances are going to cause people to foreclose and all this fear mongering. Here's the thing. The banks had programs in place to make sure that these consumers could pay back their debt, whether they added it onto the end of their loan or they paid it in a lump sum. They worked with these people to make sure that they didn't lose their homes. So we don't have the housing crisis as far as foreclosures and delinquencies that we did in 2008. Another thing, our inventory is just catching up to pre-COVID levels. In 2008, 2009, it was like 6 months on the market, 7 months on the market, which just means how long it takes a home to sell, right? Now we're still 30, 45 days on the market. It's still relatively a seller's market. I mean, there's more buying opportunity, but still 40% of homes are still getting multiple offers, which means that usually they're going at asking, maybe slightly above asking. So there's a lot of things to consider. And guys, whether you buy a house right now or you buy a house 5 years from now, it's always best to try and not time the market. It's always best to purchase a home, especially if you're in a working class family. and you're looking to invest over the next 5, 7, 10 years, we look long term. We don't look right now. We look what's going to happen in the next 10 years. You're going to put yourself in a financial position that's going to allow you to win. And I mentioned this video may be a little bit biased, but I'm going to give you some stats here and some data on rent versus owning. On this chart, give it up to Mortgage Coach because Mortgage Coach is awesome and I use it for all of my clients. If we take a rough net monthly rent of $1,750 over the course of the next 5 years, you're going to spend over $113,000 in rent. Now, I want to be clear. There's some pros to renting, right? You're not going to have to pay for repairs if something breaks down. Let's say that you're in a year lease and you want to move. You can get out and move. You don't have to sell, right? Buying right now, if you wanted to move in 6 months, it could be a bad idea. Or maybe you didn't know and something popped up. It could be a sticky situation because it may be possibly a little bit harder to sell your house than it was a year ago. So those are things that you want to think about when you're purchasing. How long am I going to be in this house? If you're purchasing a home with the interest rates up in the high sixes, you're going to pay down over the next 5 years over $20,000 worth of principal. So instead of spending $113,000 in rent, you're going to pay down over $23,000 in principal. And this is based on a $395,000 purchase price. So what does that mean? That means between renting and principal pay down, we are up well over $130,000 over the course of the next 5 years. That also doesn't include the tax benefits that are going to come along with purchasing a home. Okay, you're going to have to talk to a CPA about this, but I know for my own personal taxes on the properties that I own that I get to write off the interest. Okay, my personal residence is a $36,000 interest write-off for me every single year. So even though you're paying more interest right now, you're being able to write off most of it, at least consult with your CPA, allowing you to get some of that back at the end of the year. Let's take a look at this chart and where that brings you in 15 years with just this property. But if we're looking at appreciation of, let's say, 3 to 4%, okay, and we're renting during this 15 years, and you've been waiting to buy, okay, you have lost out on $400,000+ in principal. I'm adding this all together in principal pay down and appreciation in your property. Your net worth would be $400,000 plus in 15 years rather than renting. And this is where Dave Ramsey gets it wrong. Now, I understand Dave Ramsey completely. I like a lot of his stuff. I like that he's about paying down debt. I like that he's about living conservatively. It's values that I personally hold. I like living conservatively with my finances. However, waiting to put 20% down could potentially be one of the worst mistakes. I have clients that purchased at 3.5% down, 3% down, 5% down 2-3 years ago, and they now have $100,000, $200,000 worth of equity in their home, and they remove the mortgage insurance. So when we look at the overall benefits of homeownership versus renting, there's definitely pros and cons. I want to be clear. When you buy a home, there's sometimes things that pop up. I'll give you an example. In my home, my garage door broke. It was a $20,000 fix. Now, it doesn't have to be $20,000. We wanted some nice European looking doors because our house is a Spanish style house. However, those things do pop up. Our water heaters went out. We had to fix that. Now, there are some cool things like that you can buy, like a home warranty. Okay, a home warranty would allow you to pay a service fee and have somebody come replace a water heater or things of that nature. So there are things out there that you can purchase to protect yourself. However, homeownership can be expensive. Okay, but the benefits outweigh the cons. And renting, while it's less stress, I would say, and I wouldn't even say less stress. It's just less responsibility, right? You can leave when you want, if you want. You don't have to do repairs. It's not going to yield you the financial results over the next 4 to 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, 30 years that homeownership is. There's a reason why it's very easy to become a millionaire in real estate. I know that sounds stupid to a lot of people, but it's true. It really is. Buy like 3 properties. Buy a primary, live in that for a while, turn that one into a primary and rent that property out, and buy 1 rental property. Okay. And if you do this, depending on where you live over the course of the next 6, 7, 8, 9 years, you're going to have a ton of equity and great investments, great write-offs, and the whole thing. So in conclusion, renting over the long term is going to be more expensive, but a little bit more stress-free. I'll give you that. Right now may be a good time to buy for buyers, for first-time home buyers especially, because you can get in with your grant programs, down payment assistance, minimum down, FHA, VA, programs that unfortunately were not being accepted as frequently over the course of the last year are being accepted now. So if you're in a spot where you can purchase, you may want to consider putting an offer on a home. Also, we're seeing lots of buyers get seller credits for their closing cost. They're getting price reductions. They're getting their repairs taken care of. So there's more negotiating room as far as a buyer, with a seller, that you can actually win a little bit and maybe even come into the home with only your down payment, or even less if you're getting a grant product. And for investors, what does this look like? Guys, the economy, as we can see, is not that great right now. Okay, but there's always opportunity everywhere if you're willing to look for it. And right now is actually when the money is made. If you're an investor buying a home below market, or getting all of your closing costs covered and only coming in with the equity on the property, or waiting a few months and maybe picking up some properties that are well below listing, there's opportunities out there for investors as well. And I'm always a buy and hold guy. Okay, I'm not a flipper. I think flipping is awesome. I have buddies that flip. I have buddies that wholesale. They do amazingly well. But for me, I'm buy and hold. If you are buying real estate for the long term, you cannot lose. Now, some things to consider before I finish this video is if you're moving in 6 months or a year, or you're not sure about your situation, you may want to consider waiting. Because if you buy a home right now, and let's say in 6 months you have to move because you got that job call in another state and you were maybe expecting it, but you weren't quite sure. So you bought a home here and planted your nest here basically. That could put you in a really sticky situation because it'd be maybe kind of hard to sell that property in 6 months to a year with how the economy is going. Let's look long-term, guys. Create wealth over the long term. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Sorry if this was a little too biased. I'm passionate about real estate. I've seen people, create wealth through real estate from what I'm doing. But hopefully you can see that I tried to weigh both ends and tried to give you the actual facts. So have a good day. Talk to y'all soon.